Cooking with Nono again. Today I'm going to make another Central Italian dish, and this is pork steak. And in order to give it a fancy name, I'm going to call it pork steak raimondo, that's my first name. So first, this again, here we go. This is the pork steak. It's been marinating in lemon juice, garlic, onion, and as a twist, I have added what is called Fernet Branca. It's an Italian aperitif or bitter, and I added this to the marinade, so it's going to give the pork a very distinctive taste. Now, the old timers, I mean, they couldn't live without their Fernet, and they would usually drink a little bit before a meal. Now, if you try this, if you find this in a liquor store and you try it, take maybe a half a shot glass, and it will give a very distinctive taste to your mouth. And whatever you eat after that is going to enhance the flavor of the food. So it's really worth trying. Again, that's a tip from the old timer. Here's one more piece. So I'll leave that behind. Adjust the temperature. Put the lid on it. Let it cook for a while. And we'll turn it over soon. Again, I like to reminisce about growing up and my experiences with the Italian community. It was interesting that on Main Street there was this sequence of mom and pop shops. There was the Calabrese market, there was the Sicilian market, there was the Napolitano market. So, you had a chance to try different foods from the different regions of Italy. And again, for northern Italy, across the street, there was an Italian pastry shop called Chiarelli's, and they made their own spumoni. And if you've ever tasted homemade spumoni, there's just no comparison with what you buy in the stores these days. And also along that line, you can get gelato in this country. But it's not the same as the gelato you get in Italy. I mean, gelato in Italy is a good experience. But the closest thing that I have found to Italian gelato, if you want to believe this, is a Mexican ice cream shop in Manassas. I forget the name. What's the name of it? Michoacana. It's on Route 28 in Manassas. And if you want to try something that's close to real Italian gelato, you should go there. And again, all of their ice creams are made with fresh fruit, okay? No artificial ingredients. It's well worth the trip. And again, I would like to give a shout out to my companion, caregiver. I mean, I couldn't do this without her. I could not have survived my wife's death without her. She got me through this bad period of my life. And, she's my photographer here.
We do what we can.
Maybe someday, if she's not shy, she'll get in front of the camera so you can see who she is. She's a very attractive woman, has 4 children, good mother, good caregiver. So, and again, before I forget, I really want to give a shout out to all the people on the Walney side, the neighborhood, because I mean their response has been tremendous. Not only their outpouring of love and condolences for my wife, but they've gotten on board and they've watched this video, and you know the number of views have just skyrocketed because of them, and I really appreciate it. Again, thank you very much. And now it is time to turn over the pork. Now, okay, we've turned over the pork, and now it's time to add the different herbs. It has dill weed, of course. I mean, it couldn't be Umbrian without some dill weed, quite a bit of dill weed, in fact. Some fennel. Fennel seeds, in fact. Some fennel in there. Again, as you see, I'm not measuring, I'm just eyeballing how much I need. And here we have some dill weed, and dill seed, not weed, excuse me. Some thyme. This is quite a mixture, but I believe me, it's well worth it. But again, you know, you can't smell this, you can't taste this, but believe me, the taste is really incredible. It's too bad I can't invite you here to share it with me, because I would be more than happy to do that. And again here, this is another unusual addition, which is caraway. And caraway, you usually find that in the Jewish rye bread in the delis. Very characteristic. So, put the lid on, let it cook for a while, and now it's time to, as part of my routine, to drink some wine. Now, the wine I'm drinking today is a Paso Robles Zinfandel, 14.5% alcohol. Because, you know, one day when I was at the wine store, the woman behind the counter tried to sell me a bottle of Zinfandel, and I looked at it, and it was 13.5% alcohol. That's not a Zinfandel. A Zinfandel has got to be at least 14%. Again, you know, this is Paso Robles. Again, is my favorite region in California for red wines. It's a very hearty wine. And interesting thing about Zinfandel, that was one of the first wines they grew in Napa Valley. And Gallo used to sell Zinfandel by the gallon, and that's what was famously known as Dago Red. I mean, again, you know, they got to get those slurs in there. And turned out, you know, that Zinfandel by itself was a very good varietal. So now it's being sold as a varietal, and it's a good wine. I mean, it's a hearty wine. Zinfandel is something you would eat with pasta, maybe even a roast. And, you know, and Zinfandel, even though people think Zinfandel is a characteristically Southern Italian wine, actually, when they looked at where Zinfandel came from, it came from Croatia, and it is known as Primitivo. So, if you go into a wine store, you know, you will find Primitivo on the shelf, and it's a precursor of Zinfandel. If you want to try that, that's an interesting experience. Well, time to flip again. Oh boy, I wish you could smell it.
Smells good.
Oh yeah. You know, I'll tell you. You know, I like to be. Oh my God, I spilled my. I like to be creative. I like to do something different, and that's why I added the Fernet Branca to the marinade, and it makes all the difference. I mean, even from the smell, you can tell it's in there. I think it's worth trying for those of you who are interested. Um, so we're gonna have we'll let this cook. I know I spilled my wine, and too bad. It's really good stuff. Anything from Paso Robles. I mean, not, you know, I get their blends. So another thing here, you know, if you're going to be a serious cook, serious amateur, whatever, you have to have a good set of knives, and they've got to be very sharp. There's nothing more dangerous in the kitchen than a dull knife. And you know, each time before you use your knife, you should use a steel on it. The steel doesn't really sharpen the knife. I mean, sharpen the knife, you're going to have to use a stone on that. And my preference for sharpening knives are Japanese water stones. I mean, they're far better than the usual oil stone. And what the steel does, like I said, it doesn't sharpen the knife. The more you use a knife, the edge becomes not rounded, but it moves to one side. So when you use the steel, you just remove that burr, and you know, you reestablish the original blade. And so I guess, you know, another thing about cooking pork. You know, when I was growing up, these people had this fear of cooking trichinosis. I mean, pork had to be cooked until the meat was almost white. I mean, the pork had almost no flavor unless you were cooking a porchetta, then that had a lot of flavor. The pork chops, no, they weren't. That was like trying to eat blotter paper. So I would say that this is done. This is ready to eat. It's very flavorful. I mean, it's a shame that you can't taste it or smell it. And again, in the other video when I was talking about Smellorama, that was on Second City TV. Well, when I was watching Cooking with Daddy Jack, Cooking with the Blues, you know, his cameraman kept saying, well, what we need is smell-o-vision. So, you know, when you're cooking, you really would like to smell what you're doing. And then I mentioned Cooking with the Blues, that I would like to play blues. But you know, we Italians, we also have our own characteristic way of singing, which is called bel canto, and it's music that comes from the heart. Okay? Now, blues really comes from the soul, and if you haven't suffered, you really can't appreciate the blues. And believe me, what I'm going through now, I can really appreciate the blues. So, you know, beforehand, I prepared a tomato salad here. These tomatoes are homegrown, fresh from the garden. They're not the Italian heirloom seeds that my friend gave me. These are just ordinary garden tomatoes. But in addition, I have some yellow tomatoes in there because, you know, the yellow tomatoes are much less acidic. And then I have some Italian artisan cheese, a couple of rolled anchovies with capers, plus a couple of sprigs of mint. So this is a very good salad. And contrary to what some idiots say, Italians do not eat their salad after their meal. I mean, I don't know what kind of idiots start this shit. You know, like, oh, Italians chill red wine. Nobody in their right mind would chill red wine, okay? It's nonsense. I mean, I don't know who these people are, but there are trolls all over the place. In fact, there was some troll that made a disparaging remark about my, posting on the Wally site. So there's always those people in the world. You just have to learn to live with them. Anyway, this concludes my video for today. Thank you very much. And I really appreciate all of the subscribers and the likes that I've been getting. Some comments, which I am very grateful for. And I've replied to some of the comments. So, and usually, naturally, just like my niece, some woman says, well, why don't you make a dessert? Well, okay, I'm a diabetic, but one day I will make a dessert for the women. And everybody is always used to tiramisu, which, and cannoli, and then, that's about first. You can find some fantastic pastries from Sicily. I mean, God, when I used to go to Italian weddings when I was a kid, and the table would just be full of this variety of cookies, and most of the good ones really came from Sicilian women. And so, what I will make is an Umbrian dessert that's called zuppa inglese, and it's a slam at the English. It's called English soup, but really the reason why they call it that is because there's a lot of liquor in it. There's at least 3 varieties of liquor, and it's got ladyfingers, and it's got custard, and it's got mascarpone, and the mascarpone is mixed with Nutella. Again, Central Italy, Nutella is very big. In fact, the first time I tasted Nutella was on one of our trips to Italy. So again, apologize for running off at the mouth. So we'll end the video here. Look forward to doing another one for you. Again, in your comments, if you want me to cook a specific dish, please do so. I'll be happy to, comply with your request. Okay, ciao, buon appetito.